Heyo everyone! Summer Game Fest wrapped up this week, minus the Nintendo Direct later this month if you want to include that loosely as part of Summer Game Fest, and there were a lot of great announcements. Sony shared their state of play, Jeff Keighley had his event, Ubisoft did their thing, and Xbox, in my opinion, blew the doors off the place with their Xbox Games Showcase. Even though I am super duper pooper excited for all the games announced, I still have some reservations. Today, I want to talk about Xbox's event in particular and highlight some key things that I think are interesting. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Alright, let's get it! Okay, before we begin, I want to share some love for PlayStation and Jeff because I thought they had pretty solid events. Sony unveiled more PC ports and a brand new Astrobot game, while Jeff revealed a bunch of cool indie stuff like the new Blumhouse titles and a few big game things like the Alan Wake 2 DLC. Yeah, maybe not as big as the announcements at the Game Awards, but that should be expected for Summer Game Fest. This is just kind of the half-year check-in. But anyway, I digress. I want to talk about Xbox. For the past few months, I've really been critical of Microsoft and how they've been handling their Activision acquisition. My biggest complaint, along with a lot of other people, is the absolute gutting of smaller studios owned by Xbox. Layoffs have been hitting the tech industry in general these past few years, but 2024 so far has been pretty rough. Sony, EA, Riot Games, Twitch, and Discord all have had pretty hefty layoffs, and that's just scratching the surface. There are so many more. That being said, these companies didn't just make a $70 billion purchase of another game publisher. Xbox, if you didn't have the money to make these games or employ these workers, why did you buy the company? Obviously, I'm being facetious here, but still. It's sad to see how rough the job market has been looking for game devs out there. Real quick, going back to Summer Game Fest, I want to share what Jeff said in his opening monologue.
But let's also face it, this has been a tumultuous and difficult year with company layoffs and studio closures, which have disappointed all of us. But there's also something else happening. Our industry is evolving and changing. And thanks to digital distribution, smaller teams and new creators are finding incredible success. Take a look at this list from Game Discover of the top 10 best-selling new games on Steam so far this year. 2 of them are considered, big company games, but the other 8 come from indie, mid-sized teams or solo developers. I look at this list, it's pretty cool, right? And I get inspired that new ideas, new teams, and smaller creators can and will break through. It's a reminder to big companies that they have to treat their developers right because today there are many paths to sustainability and success, and that's what makes this industry so great.
Well said, Jeff. Honestly, really great stuff. I think it's really impressive that he'd say something like this because he definitely needs these bigger companies more than those bigger companies need him. Anyway, Jeff, you should give me a free ticket to the Game Awards this year. So the major layoffs have kinda cast a huge shadow over Xbox's showcase. Yeah, all of the announcements and trailers and how Xbox loves the gaming industry is great, but I don't want people to forget how brutal the Microsoft layoffs were just a few weeks ago. But moving on to the actual game announcements, I think Xbox knocked it out of the park. Just a quick recap in case you missed it, we got our first real look at Call of Duty Black Ops 6, and you know what? I'm excited. I'm tired of being negative about COD all the time, so for once, I'm just going to try and appreciate the new gameplay mechanics they've added because they honestly look like great additions. It also looks like it's going to be a return to form in a few ways, like old school prestige and 3-lane map design, along with round-based zombies. Also, it's coming day 1 to Game Pass. Thank God. The rumors have been swirling around this since Microsoft acquired Activision, but it's nice to see it official. Then we got a look at the new Doom game. God, I fucking love the new Doom games. They're so fast-paced and hectic, it's like a never-ending adrenaline rush. The new game, The Dark Ages, is going to be an origin story of sorts for the Doomslayer, and it looks nuts. He's got some new weapons, a mace, a big-ass mech suit, a freaking chainsaw shield, and a dragon. This might be the game I'm most excited to play from the showcase, and I can't wait to see what batshit crazy situations id Software will drum up for us. We then got another trailer for State of Decay 3. Look, I've only played a couple hours of State of Decay 2, so I don't have much to say about this franchise. The trailer was a great mood setter, but is anyone else concerned that it was almost entirely cinematic again? There were a few quick snippets that I guess might have been gameplay, but it was barely anything and didn't even show any sort of HUD, so I don't really know. And then to top it all off, there's still no release window, not even a projected year. I don't know what's going on with this game, but I kinda wish Xbox would keep it on the DL until it's closer to completion instead of just pumping out these CGI trailers to remind us that they're still working on it. Next we got Dragon Age: The Veilguard. I have not played any of these games, but from my understanding, people are not too happy with this. The original Dragon Age games were a dark fantasy RPG adventure, while this new trailer is... I don't even know what this is. I guess a cartoonish, lighthearted fantasy RPG? They had a gameplay deep dive this week, and from what I can tell, people are still kinda mixed on it. I guess we'll have to wait and see. We also finally got a look at the Starfield DLC, Shattered Space. Honestly, looks pretty solid. It has a dark space horror kind of vibe and is gonna be focused on the House Varun faction. Kinda gives off Prey vibes, I love it. The expansion is slated to launch later this year, but in the meantime, Bethesda did drop a little update with some nice features. New missions, some new gear, and finally, mods. Bethesda also showed off the next expansion for Fallout 76. Damn, who would have guessed that Fallout 76 would come around and be this good in 2024?
Who would have thought? Not me.
This expansion, Skyline Valley, is making the world map bigger and also adding a new vault, Vault 63. The trailer also had some nice little cheeky comments about the game's late renaissance, including actual up-to-date player counts with the 17 million dwellers. You also can now play as a ghoul. God, I swear, the success of the Fallout TV show is giving this franchise a new life like never before. Good for Fallout though, really. I'm glad this game was somehow able to salvage itself, at least a little bit. There's also this new fantasy RPG game, Expedition 33. It's slated for next year, and I might give this one a shot. The setting and visuals look incredibly unique and downright gorgeous. The story seems interesting, and the combat looks pretty engaging. Who knows, maybe this game will scratch that dark fantasy RPG itch that the Dragon Age fans have been waiting for over a decade now. Also coming in 2025, at least for now, is South of Midnight. I can't wait to get my hands on this one. It's like a Spider-Verse animated style video game with a stop motion-esque frame rate. The setting, in like some fantasy swamp world, looks pretty great, and we've already seen some pretty dope looking creatures, including a giant alligator with an island on its back, a magical monster blob thing, and this big ass talking fish. I'm really hyped for this one. Next, we got our first real look at the Perfect Dark remake, and holy shit, this looks fucking awesome. From the music to the aesthetic to the gameplay, this game's potential is through the roof. The near future sci-fi setting looks really well made, and the espionage story has already got me hooked. I love the use of the gadgets and freaking parkour. I've never played the original and honestly don't even know that much about it, but from what I've seen so far, this remake looks like it's right up my alley. Unfortunately, there's no release date, but from what they've shown and how much they've shown, I'm hopeful that it isn't too far away. Then we got another look at Fable. Like a lot of games from this showcase, I'm now realizing, I haven't played any of the Fable games either. But this fantasy adventure game has a really fun, upbeat vibe, and the studio behind it, the Forza Horizon team, Playground Games, does a really great job at making video game worlds fun to explore and rewarding. This trailer looks mostly cinematic, but there does appear to be a few small gameplay clips of the open world and combat. It has a release window for next year, so here's the hoping. We also got a gameplay preview of Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. I gotta say, this looks incredible. I'm really interested in the story, and performances are spot on. I'm pretty amazed at how good they made Indy look in this. It looks like everything you'd want out of an Indiana Jones game. Beautiful locations, combat with the whip, puzzle solving, iconic music, and a story that looks like a genuine adventure. To me, this game looks like Xbox's answer to PlayStation's Uncharted series. Whether or not it will be as good as those games is yet to be determined, but I guess we'll find out soon enough when the game drops later this year. Also releasing this year is Avowed. Man, Xbox has really doubled down on the fantasy RPGs this generation. The trailer looked pretty solid, but I still have some questions about what exactly the story is or how the gameplay mechanics will work. Thankfully, we did see quite a bit of gameplay in the trailer. I guess Xbox is going to be doing a deep dive into the game in the coming weeks, but for now, I still have some questions about what exactly this game is going to be. We then got another look at the September release Stalker 2, Heart of Chernobyl. God damn, the trailers for this game have been out of this world. I would love to see more gameplay, but there's no denying that the marketing team for this game have been going balls to the walls. The graphics are jaw-dropping, the gunplay looks visceral and raw, and the world they've built seems incredibly unique. I can't wait to try this game out. It's been in development hell for a while now because, if you didn't know, the devs are based out of Ukraine, so they've obviously had some bigger issues to deal with. I hope this game lives up to its hype because it looks fantastic. And last but not least, we got our first teaser for the next Gears of War game. Yes, Gears of War. Not just Gears, Gears of War. They're bringing it back, baby. Gears of War E-Day is set to be an origin story for Marcus. They didn't really show anything besides a cinematic trailer, and there wasn't any sort of a release window at all. But hey, at least we got some news on the franchise. Okay, really quick, here are a few other things worth mentioning. The Metal Gear Solid 3 remake, or Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater, looks really fun. Konami has been kind of in a weird state ever since Kojima left, but this remake looks promising. World of Warcraft got a trailer for their new expansion. It looks cool, but kind of weird that they revealed it at Xbox's showcase, considering it's not on Xbox. Yeah, I know Xbox owns Blizzard now, but I just thought it was kind of funny. Sea of Thieves is chugging along with the trailer for, Jesus, Season 13? Diablo 4 got its first expansion sneak peek. Looks super cool. God, the Diablo team makes the best cinematic trailers, for real. Fragpunk is this new 5v5 hero shooter that looks cool, I guess? I don't know. There are so many games like this, it's hard to know what will actually have the staying power to remain relevant. It at least looks like it has some unique gameplay twists that I don't think I've seen in a competitive shooter before. Flight Simulator is getting another update where you can do missions like transportation, rescue, and firefighting. You can also, maybe, get out and walk around a bit and take pictures. Not quite sure, but this looks great, honestly. A new Life is Strange game is slated for October of this year, and it looks excellent. The trailer shows some pretty cool narrative and gameplay mechanics where you can switch between alternate dimensions to solve the murder of your best friend. Pretty dope. Atomfall is this post-apocalyptic fantasy game, I think. The trailer shows a lot of different stuff, and I'm not really sure what's going on here. The visuals look cool though, and the enemy variety is interesting to say the least. It kind of reminds me of a mix of Atomic Heart and Fallout. Slated for next year, so hopefully we'll see more soon. Assassin's Creed Shadows revealed their first gameplay footage also, and I don't know. I've been burnt so many times on Assassin's Creed that I don't know what to actually expect. I like the idea of dual protagonists and the different gameplay styles each one has, but it feels like this game is like 10 years too late. We've gotten Ghost of Tsushima now, and if Assassin's Creed Shadows doesn't at least match that quality, then I don't know how people are going to react to this. Lastly, there was a quick hardware refresh with some new console colors. An all-digital white Series X, a 1TB Series S, and a 2TB Galaxy Black Series X with a disk drive. They also sneakily mentioned that they are hard at work for the next gen.
And we're hard at work on the next generation.
So overall, I thought this was a really freaking good showcase. For years, people have been saying that Xbox doesn't have any games. Well, Xbox finally got their games. But like my title suggests, I don't think it was perfect. I mentioned earlier that the entire show was kinda underscored by the recent closures and layoffs, and I still believe that, even if all of the games we saw do look promising. But the biggest problem I had with the show, it lacks confidence. That might not be the right word I'm looking for. What I'm trying to say is, the Xbox showcase had a bunch of great trailers and announcements, but quite a few of them were just mostly cinematic trailers, and even the games that showed off a lot of gameplay had the same issue. There's no release date. Even for games like Avowed and Indiana Jones, which come out this year, still don't have an official release date. For some of these, not even a release window. Does this concern anyone else? I know this has been a recent trend in the industry to announce a game way too early to start building hype and attracting devs to join the project, but for a game like Indiana Jones to not have a release date kinda worries me. Why isn't there anything official yet? Is the game's development still going well? And what about Avowed? These games are supposedly coming out in the next 6 months. Games like Perfect Dark, Elder Scrolls 6, or even Gears of War E-Day don't even have release years yet, so maybe they're being announced too soon with these big flashy trailers instead of just making a press release or whatever. But for games like Indie and Avowed, it is a little bit worrisome that there isn't any sort of release date in mind. That's probably my biggest issue with all of this. For a lot of these games, there's either a very vague release window, like sometime next year, or there's just nothing at all. I almost kind of wish that Xbox would have taken more of a Nintendo Direct kind of approach where you only announce the games that are legitimately almost ready to ship and will be dropping in the coming months. This showcase almost kind of feels like damage control for the past tumultuous weeks that Xbox has had. It's like they're saying, see, we got plenty of studios and games still coming out, even if they're barely in development or maybe not even started at all. And then the question of the game's success, how many of these studios will still exist 5 years from now? We've seen under Phil Spencer's regime that even if a game is good, no studio is safe from closures. I don't know, maybe I'm looking too deep into this, it's just, we've been burnt by Xbox before. I think last year they said that everything in the showcase was going to be released in the next 12 months, and that definitely wasn't the case. Like, I get that sometimes devs need just a bit more time, but come on. You had to have known that before making a big promise that all of the games shown would be releasing soon wasn't likely to happen. So even though all of these games looked great at the showcase, I'm gonna try and keep my expectations somewhat low until we get solid release dates or actual game releases. Cinematic trailers are great, but I don't think a game deserves its praise until people get their hands on it and actually play it. But I want to know what you guys think about all of this. What are your thoughts on this year's Xbox showcase? I thought it was really well done, but like I said, I still have my reservations. What was your favorite announcement this year? Are you going to be playing Black Ops 6 on Game Pass? Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. I appreciate you guys as always, and I'll catch you in the next one.